Welcome to CogniTale, unlocking ancient stories where the past comes alive with tales too haunting to forget. Tonight, we're stepping into a legend that's echoed through the rivers and canyons of Mexico and the American Southwest for centuries. A story so chilling it's kept parents awake, watching their children sleep. Imagine a woman in white, her cries piercing the night, her shadow drifting along the water's edge, searching, weeping, forever lost to a grief she can't escape. This is the tale of La Llorona, the weeping woman, a ghost born from love, betrayal, and a darkness that clings to the soul. Here's your hook. They say she's still out there, her voice calling in the wind, luring the unwary to join her in the depths. Ready to dive in? Let's unravel her mystery together. It starts long ago, in a dusty village nestled by a river in colonial Mexico sometime in the 1500s, when Spanish rule cast long shadows over the land. Her name was Maria, a beauty with eyes like midnight, hair flowing dark and wild, a woman who turned heads wherever she went. She wasn't rich, just a peasant girl, but her spirit burned bright, catching the eye of a wealthy Spaniard, a nobleman riding through on horseback, his smile sharp, his promises sweeter than honey. They fell hard, a forbidden love across class and culture. And soon, two children came, a boy and a girl, their laughter filling the little adobe house Maria called home. For a while it was paradise, stolen nights, secret vows, a family hidden from the world. But paradise doesn't last, not when pride and power pull the strings. The nobleman grew restless, his visits rarer, his excuses colder, until one day Maria saw him in the village square, arm in arm with a Spanish bride, young, rich, approved by his family, everything Maria wasn't. Her heart shattered, rage boiling beneath her grief, but she held it in, watching from the shadows as he laughed with his new wife, her children's father slipping away like sand through her fingers. The whispers started then, the village turning on her, calling her a fool, a stain, a woman scorned, and the weight of it crushed her, day by day, until something inside snapped, something dark, something final. One night, under a moon pale and thin, Maria took her children to the river, their small hands in hers, their trust absolute, their voices soft as they asked where they were going. She didn't answer, her mind a storm, her pain a blade, and there, by the water's edge, she did the unthinkable, drowning them, her own flesh and blood, their cries swallowed by the current, their bodies sinking into the black. When it was done, she stood there, trembling, the silence deafening, and then the horror hit, a wave of regret so deep it tore her apart. She screamed, clawing at the water, begging them back, but they were gone, and with them her soul, lost to a choice she couldn't undo. The villagers found her the next morning, dead on the bank, her white dress soaked, her face frozen in anguish, and they buried her quick, whispering prayers to keep her spirit down. But the river wouldn't let her go. It claimed her, turned her into something else, a wraith doomed to wander, weeping for her children, searching for them in every ripple, every shadow. They called her La Llorona, and her cries became a warning, a curse, a tale that spread from village to village, across borders, into the night. This is just the beginning, folks, the surface of a story that dives deep into the dark, so stick with me, because La Llorona's not done weeping yet. Now buckle up, because this is where La Llorona's tale twists into something you won't shake off easy, a story so wild it'll grip your soul and drag you straight to the river's edge. Maria's dead, her children lost to the water, her body cold in the ground. But that's not the end. It's the start of a curse that's haunted the night ever since. The villagers thought they'd buried her deep, thought their prayers would pin her spirit down. But the river had other plans. It breathed life into her pain, turned her into something more than a ghost, something that hunts, something that weeps. Here's the hook that'll keep you glued. They say La Llorona doesn't just cry for her own, she's after yours, luring kids to the water with a song too sweet to resist, a song that's been heard from Mexico to Texas and beyond. Let's dive into the dark, because this legend's got teeth. The first whispers came quick, nights after Maria's death, when the village still stank of fear and guilt. Fishermen by the river swore they heard it, a wail cutting through the mist, sharp and mournful, like a mother's grief given voice, and they'd row back fast, their hands shaking, their nets empty. Kids stopped playing near the water, their mothers pulling them close, because the sound wasn't just sad, it was alive, moving, slipping through the reeds like it knew the paths. Then the sightings started, a figure in white, drifting along the bank, her dress trailing wet, her hair a black veil over a face no one dared look at too long. She'd vanish when you blinked, but her cry lingered, echoing off the adobe walls, sinking into your bones. The village priest tried to fight it, splashing holy water into the current, chanting Latin under a cross held high, but the river laughed, swirling dark and deep. And that night, a boy went missing. Little Juan, just 6, last seen chasing a frog by the shore. They found his sandal, muddy and lone, the next morning, the water still rippling where he'd stood, and the wails grew louder, triumphant almost, like La Llorona had claimed her first. The villagers boarded up their windows, hung garlic and crosses, anything to keep her out, but she wasn't bound by doors or charms. She was the river now, the wind, the night itself, and she was hungry, her grief a fire that wouldn't die. Word spread fast, carried by traders and priests, across the dusty trails of New Spain, into the canyons and plains where the Spanish built their missions and the natives watched wary. By the 1600s, La Llorona wasn't just a village ghost. She was a legend, her name whispered in taverns, her story twisted with every telling, some saying she'd been a witch, others a saint gone mad, but all agreed on one thing: she was real, too real. Her cries heard in places Maria never walked alive. In Texas, ranchers saw her by the Rio Grande, her white dress glowing under the moon, her voice calling kids from their beds, and in New Mexico, shepherds found sheep drowned, their bodies tangled in the shallows, no tracks leading in, just her wail fading into the hills. The natives had their own tales, older than Maria's, about spirits tied to the water, vengeful mothers who'd lost their young to conquistadors or famine, and they said La Llorona wasn't new, she was one of them, reborn in Maria's pain, a bridge between their gods and the invaders' sins. They called her She Who Weeps, warned their children to stay clear of rivers at night because her song was a trap, sweet and soft, pulling you close till the water closed over your head. Parents told it as a lesson. Don't wander, don't disobey, or La Llorona will take you. And it worked. Kids clung to their mothers, eyes wide, but it didn't stop her. She kept coming, her reach growing, her hunger endless. Centuries rolled by, the tale stretching into the 1800s, when Mexico lost its northern lands to the United States, and La Llorona followed, her cries crossing borders, seeping into the American Southwest. Towns sprang up along the rivers, settlers new to the land, and they learned fast, hearing her wail in the cottonwoods, seeing her shadow flicker in the moonlight, always near water, always weeping. In San Antonio, a girl vanished from the river walk, her doll left floating, and in Arizona, a cowboy swore he saw her, standing in the Gila River, her arms outstretched, her voice begging him closer till he ran, his horse bolting, his dreams haunted for years. But here's where it gets wilder, darker, the kind of twist that'll spark 1,000 posts on X and Reddit. Because La Llorona didn't fade with time, she adapted, her legend growing teeth in the modern world. By the 1900s, cars parked by rivers stalled out, headlights dimming as her cry cut through the static on the radio, and kids in the back seat screamed, pointing at a woman in white walking the road, gone when you turned to look. In the 70s, a fisherman in California snapped a photo, blurry but real, a figure by the Sacramento River, her dress wet, her face a smear of shadow, and it spread, people swearing it was her, the weeping woman, still hunting, still grieving. She's not just a ghost now, she's a force, tied to every river, every stream, a story that's crossed cultures, from Mexican villages to American suburbs, her wail a thread stitching the past to the present. Some say she's a warning, a mother's love turned sour, others a predator, stealing kids to replace what she lost. But everyone agrees, she's out there. Her voice carried on the wind, her shadow lurking where the water runs deep. And get this, people still hear her today, in 2025, along the Mississippi, the Colorado, even city canals, a cry that stops your heart, makes you wonder who she's calling for next. This isn't the end of her tale, it's the middle, the meat of a mystery that's still unfolding. So don't blink, because La Llorona's coming closer, and she's got more to say. The night's growing thick now, the air heavy with La Llorona's wail, a sound that's followed rivers for centuries, and we're about to hit the heart of her terror, a moment so raw it'll make your pulse race. She's not just a ghost anymore, she's a storm, a force of grief and rage, sweeping through villages, towns, lives, claiming what she can't have. Her cries a net cast wide over the water. Picture this, a quiet night in 1850s Texas, a small ranch by the Rio Grande, the moon hanging low, the river whispering secrets, and a family about to learn why the locals lock their doors when the wind picks up. This is where La Llorona stops haunting and starts hunting, and it's not pretty, it's pure, unfiltered dread. The family was new, fresh from the east, a man named Caleb, his wife Sarah, and their two kids, Anna and little Ben, barely 5, all drawn by cheap land and big dreams. They'd heard the tales, laughed them off as campfire spook stories, figured La Llorona was just old wives' talk to keep kids in line. But the ranch hands knew better, their eyes darting to the river at dusk, their voices low, warning Caleb to keep the children close. That night, a storm rolled in, thunder rumbling soft, rain tapping the roof, and Sarah tucked the kids in, their faces glowing by candlelight, their giggles fading as sleep took hold. Caleb checked the windows, the barn, the world outside still, too still, until he heard it, a cry, faint at first, drifting over the water, sharp and keening, like a blade through the dark. He froze, his breath catching, telling himself it was the wind, a coyote maybe, but it grew louder, closer, a woman's voice, sobbing, calling names, mis hijos, over and over, cutting through the storm. Sarah heard it too, bolting upright, her heart pounding, and she ran to the kids' room, finding Anna asleep, but Ben's bed empty, the blanket tossed aside, the window cracked open, rain pooling on the floor. She screamed for Caleb, her voice raw, and he burst in, his eyes wide, the cry outside now a wail, right at the river's edge, pulling at them like a tide. They grabbed lanterns, boots slipping in the mud, shouting Ben's name, the storm swallowing their words, the night closing in tight. They reached the bank, the Rio Grande churning black, the rain lashing their faces, and there she was, La Llorona, standing in the water, her white dress soaked, her hair a tangle of shadows, her arms outstretched, weeping, her voice a lure, sweet and deadly. Ben was there, at the edge, his small figure swaying, his eyes glazed, stepping closer, drawn by her song, her cry weaving into his mind, promising love, promising peace. Sarah lunged, grabbing his arm, pulling him back, But the ground gave way, mud sliding, and they fell, tumbling into the shallows, the water cold, the current strong, La Llorona's wail turning to a shriek, furious, cheated, her hands clawing the air. Caleb waded in, dragging them out, his strength fading, the river fighting him, and he saw her face just for a second, pale and hollow, eyes black pits, a mother's grief twisted into something monstrous, something that wanted Ben, wanted all of them, to fill the void she'd carved centuries ago. They scrambled back, soaked, trembling, Ben sobbing, Sarah clutching him, and La Llorona stayed, her figure rippling in the water, her cry rising, a howl that shook the trees, rattled the house, woke Anna inside, her screams joining the chaos. The ranch hands ran out, crosses in hand, shouting prayers, but she didn't flinch, her gaze locked on the family, her presence a weight, a promise she'd return, her hunger unquenched, her sorrow eternal. The storm broke at dawn, the river calm, the air still, but the family was gone by noon, fleeing north, leaving the ranch to rot, their story spreading fast, a warning whispered in saloons, etched into the land. The hands stayed, stubborn or foolish, and one vanished weeks later, his hat found floating downstream, the wail heard again, louder, bolder, La Llorona claiming her due. The river became her throne, her domain, a line no one crossed without fear, her legend swelling, her power growing, a ghost who didn't just haunt, but hunted, a mother who'd lost everything and wanted the world to pay. The river ran quiet after that night, the Rio Grande settling into an uneasy hush, but La Llorona's mark lingered, a stain on the land, a shiver in the air no one could ignore. The ranch stood empty, its windows dark, its walls crumbling, a monument to a family that fled and a ghost that stayed, her wail a thread woven into the fabric of the Southwest, a sound that echoed beyond Texas, beyond time. The locals learned quick, teaching their kids to fear the water, to listen for her cry, to run if they heard it, because La Llorona wasn't a story anymore. She was a truth, a force as real as the river itself, her grief a chain binding her to the world. Years turned to decades, the legend growing, twisting, her white dress spotted in moonlight from California to Colorado, her voice drifting over bridges, through canyons, a call that pulled at the lost, the lonely, the curious. In the 1920s, a trucker swore she stepped in front of his rig near El Paso, her eyes black, her cry stopping his engine cold, and he quit the next day, his hands still shaking, his story spreading fast. In the 50s, a group of teens dared each other to the riverbank in New Mexico, flashlights in hand, laughter fading when her wail rose, and one never came back. His friends too scared to speak, their silence louder than words. She wasn't fading, she was thriving, her hunger sharper, her presence bolder, a ghost who'd outlived empires, who'd outlast us all. And now, in 2025, she's still here, her cry caught on cell phones, shaky videos showing a figure by the water, her dress wet, her voice clear, chilling, posted online with captions like, "Is this her? And I heard it too." Hikers by the Mississippi hear it, faint but real. Kids in suburbs near canals whisper about a lady in white. And every time, the story reignites, shared across X, debated on Reddit, a legend that won't die, can't die, because La Llorona's not just a ghost, she's a mirror, reflecting love turned to loss, betrayal turned to blood, a mother's pain turned eternal. The rivers carry her, the night hides her, and somewhere, right now, she's weeping, searching, waiting for the next soul to answer her call. So, what's the truth behind La Llorona? A scorned woman, a grieving mother, a spirit cursed by her own hands, or something older, something the land itself birthed to guard its waters. Maybe she's all of them. A tale so deep it defies one answer, a mystery that pulls you in and doesn't let go. Her cries out there, folks, in the wind, in the dark, a sound that's lasted 500 years and counting, a reminder that some wounds never heal, some debts never settle, some shadows never fade. This is her story's end, but not her end, because La Llorona's still weeping, still walking, still watching, and maybe, just maybe, she's closer than you think. Hey, if this tale hooked you, sent chills down your spine, smash that subscribe button on CogniTale, unlocking ancient stories, because we've got more hidden legends waiting, wilder, darker, ready to blow your mind. Drop a comment, tell us, have you heard her cry, or is she just a myth to you? Like this video if it gripped you, skip it if it didn't, we can take it, and share it with your crew, your cousins, anyone who loves a good scare, because La Llorona's too big to keep quiet. Stick around, laugh with us, tremble with us, and jump into the next story. It's gonna be a wild ride.